بكم أعزائي طلبة وطالبات الصف الثالث الإعدادي في حلقة جديدة من حلقات الساينس تحت رعاية وإشراف وزارة التربية والتعليم. Today we are going to complete the lesson 1, which is chemical reaction, and let's know what we took before. We took the types and the importance of chemical reaction, and we explain in detail the first type, which is thermal decomposition. And today we are going to discuss in details the second one, or the second type, which is substitution reaction. Let's see together what's meant by the substitution reaction. I said the word substitution that حاجة بتسubstitute يعني بتreplace. طب أنا بتكلم على chemicals. So in this kind of chemical reaction, and metal will substitute another metal in the chemical reaction. يعني أدخل اللاب and then I put chemicals together. One of those metals is replacing the other one, but in condition مهم جدا that it will be أو it must be active, more active than the another metal. يعني واحد شاطر هيجي replace another one which is أقل منه في الشطارة شوية في الأكتيفيتي بتاعته. طيب يبقى here as you see here in front of you, what's meant by substitution reaction? Is a substitution reaction occur when an active element replaces or substitute another element in the activity. طيب ده هيفكرنا ب something which is very important. We took it last year in second prep, which is called chemical activity series. Chemical activity series دي it's very important. هو diagram أو arrangement للmetals in descending order according to their activity. يعني هنحط ال very active metal at the beginning and start to arrange them descendingly من الكبير من الصغير. يعني ايه من الكبير؟ من ال more active to the less active one according to their activity, which is called chemical activity series, which are going to discuss it together to refresh our mind about it, because it's very important to explain this kind of reaction, which is the substitution reaction. Let's go together and see this chemical activity series. Now let's memorize together the very important diagram which we took it in the second prep, which is called chemical activity series, and we give it the abbreviation CAS, chemical activity series. I said at the beginning, the chemical activity series, we arrange the metals according to their activity. Type. The most active one is the one which is above, and the least one is the high starting to will be arranged according to their chemical activity from top to bottom. كل ما أنزل بيبقى less active. طيب here all of those are metals. طب what about the center؟ ده مين؟ ده الهيدروجين. Let's كده memorize. This is potassium, sodium, barium, calcium, magnesium, aluminum, zinc, iron, tin, lead. And here is the hydrogen. الهيدروجين ده الثرمومتر اللي هبتدي اشتغل بيه كل الرياكشنز بتاعتي as we know. Now هنشوف ايه اللي هيحصل بالهيدروجين. طب what about the metal that below, which is copper, mercury, silver and gold. طب انا الرسمه دي what is the aim in it? Okay, I said at the beginning we are going to discuss the substitution reaction. طيب في ال substitution reaction ده ايه اللي هيحصل؟ all those metals which is located، يعني ايه located؟ which is found above hydrogen in the CES are very strong active metals. طب لما تبقى very strong so it can replace it in the chemical reaction. يعني ايه can replace it in the chemical reaction؟ يعني all those metals if it enter any chemical reaction with the hydrogen، هنشوف الهيدروجين either الهيدروجين may be in water لأنه one of the component of water موجود في الواتر or موجود في الأسيدز. I said any acid like hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, any acid should be started with hydrogen. One of its component is hydrogen. So يبقى معنى كده إن all those elements which is called or metals which are active metals can replace hydrogen in the chemical reaction. يعني they enter the chemical reaction. Let's see مثلا البوتاسيوم. Can, if the potassium enter any chemical reaction with water مثلا, which containing hydrogen, it can kick the hydrogen out. بتطلع الهيدروجين out from the reaction. Okay, why? Because potassium is a very strong metal because it's located above hydrogen in the CES. معنى كده إن الباريوم can make it? Yes, of course. And aluminum can make it? Yes. All those elements that are located above the hydrogen in the chemical activity series, this is chemical activity series, all of them can replace hydrogen in the chemical reaction. طب what about the metals that are located down here below hydrogen in the chemical activity series, like copper, mercury, silver, and gold? All of them are weak metals, cannot replace hydrogen in the chemical reaction. So لما يجي لي أي reaction يقول لي copper with water, هقول no reaction. طب why? Because copper is located where? Below hydrogen in the CES, so it cannot replace it in the chemical reaction. يبقى all those elements that below hydrogen cannot enter any chemical reaction. No reaction. على طول أقول في الإيكويشن no reaction. طب give reason for your answer why there is no reaction. Because they are located below hydrogen in the CES. طب let's get كده an example. If I said sodium with hydrochloric acid, can it replace it? Look, you have to memorize this and put it beside you. And look, where is the sodium here? Sodium is here. Above or below hydrogen? Above hydrogen. So it can kick it and enter the chemical reaction. Of course, هيدخل مكانه. يعني إيه؟ يديني NaCl. طب what about الهيدروجين ده هيروح فين؟ About hydrogen, kick the hydrogen out. So here, if the element is located above, it can kick the hydrogen out because it's rule. All those are very active metal, can replace hydrogen in the CS. طب another equation, we're going to see what, we take copper. I said copper plus water. Here, the competition here between mean and mean, the copper and hydrogen. The hydrogen and copper. طب let's see here, copper is located where? Below hydrogen in the CS. So can replace it? Of course not. Why? Because it's a weak metal that located below hydrogen in the chemical activity series. So I will write easy, no reaction will happen. You have to know this very well, and you have to study it very well, because if you have any equation, you have to return back to this diagram, which is CS or chemical activity series. According to that, you can solve any type of questions in the chemical substitution reaction. Let's complete and see what is the next. After we have know what is the chemical activity series and what happens inside this chemical activity series, let's see its definition together. It's the arrangement of metals in descending order according to the degree of their chemical activities, as we saw it together, and we have to know which one is located before what عشان أقدر أعرف which one make a chemical reaction. After that, let's go together and see what is the types of substitution reaction that we are going to know it in our lesson of today, the second type, which is substitution reaction. Let's go and see it together. Now we are going to know the second type, which is substitution reaction, and take in your mind that you have to know that we are going to use the chemical activity series together. The second type, which is substitution reaction, I said it's something substitute another thing. So عندي نوعين The first one is simple substitution reaction. And pay attention to the word simple. يعني هنستخدم هنا simple metal. يعني metal has substitute another metal with element and element. The second one is double substitution reaction. طيب, today we are going to start with the simple substitution reaction. As I said before, in there هو chemical reaction. Start the definition from the beginning. It's a type of chemical reaction in which one of the element substitute the less active one. يبقى you have to take in consideration that the strong one, it's a game. الأقوى هو اللي هيkick the one that it's less strength or the weak one out and replace it, ياخد مكانه. Like if you play the musical chair game. So بنلف and one the winner which is هو اللي بياخد الchair. So it's look like this type of games. يبقى it's a type of chemical reaction. One of the elements substitute the which one? The less active اللي ما بيقدرش الضعيف element in a solution of its compound. This is the definition. طيب هناخد how many examples أو how many types of this substitution? 3. First of all, I said let's see here with diagram A. This is the metal. Let's see, this is a strong metal. The red one is a strong metal. And compete or go through a reaction with a compound. Okay? So, if this metal is a strong metal located where in the CES? Located above, فوق. Here, so it can kick the one out and replace it like here. So, I can get what? Let's guess هنا A and C. So, the metal A kick the one which is B and replace it. And taken in consideration, you have to put in your mind that any chemical start with metal. يعني الأول ده metal and this one metal. And the competition between the two metals. So A plus B, kick the B out and replace it in the compound A, C and B. Put this one in your mind and then we're going to make it or to apply it in all the chemical reaction in the lab. طيب, let's start the type of simple substitution. أول نوع هناخد 3 أنواع, the 3 types of substitution that the metal will substitute the hydrogen. And I said, طالما اتكلمت على الهيدروجين, if the metals in the CES that we explained it before above it can kick it out and replace it in the chemical reaction. If it is below it, cannot replace it, so I will write no reaction. Type, this is the first one. The second one, here I will use hydrogen and water. هستخدم كمان في chemical reaction في hydrogen برضو, in that the all acids containing hydrogen, so I will put it with acid. And another type, which is the third one, that the metal will substitute another metal قوي, substitute another metal أضعف منه. طب أضعف منه في إيه؟ برضو في CES. In the CES I said that the metals are arranged, the strong one above. طب the metal اللي تحتيه less active, اللي تحتيه less active. So لو في competition between two of them, which one is the winner? The one above. لما يدخل competition معاه, kick it out and replace it in the chemical reaction. Let's see how. Let's go together. The first one, the metal will substitute hydrogen in the water. Okay, according to the metal I said before, in above the hydrogen in the CES will substitute it forming metal hydroxide. يعني إيه؟ بياخد من الواتر هيعمل metal hydroxide ويرمي الهيدروجين برا, kick the hydrogen out, يديني hydrogen gas is evolved. يعني all the active metal with water على طول تديني metal hydroxide. تجابت منين الكلمة دي؟ من الواتر, because the water, remember the formula of water H2O, هنشوفها حالا. So it give out metal oxide, hydroxide and kick what? Hydrogen gas. Let's see the very important experiment here of sodium in water. It's a very important experiment as we see here. If I put a piece of sodium, but it's very dangerous by the way, because it's after I will put sodium or potassium in the water, it will explode. طب الاكسبلوجن ده ايه؟ explosion ده chemical reaction between the sodium and the water. طب ايه الريزلت؟ ايه اللي طالع عامل دوشه بره؟ This is the hydrogen. When the hydrogen is getting away or out from the chemical reaction, it gives a pop sound. What's meant pop sound? Pop sound زي فرقعة. Okay? And which gas released? Hydrogen gas released, as we see here. And also, if I start to touch this jar, it's very hot. يعني دلوقتي taken in consideration when I'm going to make the reaction here, that I can see that the sodium burn with pop sound and explode. دي أول حاجة. If I touch the jar or the beaker, it will be very hot. طب let's see this experiment and put it in an equation because it's the language of the chemistry. Let's go together. I start with what? With sodium. This is sodium. And plus what? I put it in what? Water. This is water, H2O, Na plus H2O. Give me what out? Give me sodium hydroxide. I said any metal with water, metal hydroxide. It's a rule. It's the rule of chemistry. Metal plus water, metal hydroxide. طب the sodium here I said kick what out? Kick the hydrogen. طب الهيدروجين يطلع ساكت؟ No, يعمل دوشة. Pop sound and heat is released. So it's very important. Some of you ask me, Tab, what about this number that is in front of the formula? It's called the balancing of the equation. And it's very a complicated part. You have to now memorize it as it is because it's a kind of a lesson. You're going to take it in the secondary, inshallah. Okay? يبقى you have to know this equation very well. Also, if I put potassium, طب let's memorize كده من CS البوتاسيوم where? The potassium is above sodium, يعني أقوى, more stronger. هيعمل إيه? The same as the sodium. It will kick hydrogen out and بيطلع لي برضو potassium hydroxide. طب why both? Because they are very active metal that located where? Above hydrogen. Where? In the chemical activity series. So it kick it out and طب أعرف منين؟ I can hear the pop sound of the hydrogen and I can feel the heat of the jar after the experiment. This is the first one. طب I said في substitution تاني. ده substitution. Remember substitution يعني الميتال بيشيل حاجة and take its place. طب here برضو hydrogen, but I use the hydrogen where? In the acids. Let's see another experiment. Any active metal, if I said active, يعني it should be located above hydrogen in the CS, above hydrogen in the chemical activity series. With any acid هتعمل ايه؟ برضو هيديني salt of the acid. طب هنشوف السولت of the acid دي according to the kind of acid. كل acid لما الميتال يدخل له هيديني نوع acid نوع metal according to this acid as we see here. But we are going to take only hydrochloric acid this example. Okay? طيب ومين يطلع out? الهيدروجين out because here is its replacement or substitution and kicking hydrogen away from the equation. طيب see here, this is a note, very important note, that the metals that comes after hydrogen in the chemical activity series, can it replace it? What's meant by come after? يعني below, اللي تحت الهيدروجين in the CS, as we see before في explanation, الcopper والsilver والgold, all of them are weak metals, cannot replace hydrogen in the chemical reaction. So I will see no reaction will happen, and this is the explanation. Let's see the experiment of reaction of metal with hydrochloric acid. I will take 3 kinds of metal from the CS. I'll choose copper and aluminium and zinc. Copper and aluminium, zinc are all of them are metals. I take a piece of each of them and I put them in the different jar like this, or different test tubes, adding hydrochloric acid. Then, after a while, I will see that here is the copper and aluminum and zinc, all of them are put it here in the test tubes, and I will put dilute hydrochloric acid. What's meant by dilute? مخفف, يعني it's not strong, so because it's very dangerous to use it as it is. I have to put some water above it and then I will use it. طب, let's see what's my observation. Some of you now, you can tell me, yes, copper, no reaction. طب, why? Because we know that the copper is down. It's not active. It's very weak element. So هلاقي الcopper as it is, like you see here. No reaction. Still the copper as it is with no reaction. طب, what about those tubes? هيحصل reaction. وas we know in any reaction, أعرف منين reaction? في chemical reaction. Either something is evolved, يعني evolved, gas بيطلع. Or if I touch the tube, I feel it hot. It's a kind of chemical reaction. Or pop sound. كل دول makes me feel that the chemical reaction happened. But here, in this case, in the copper, no reaction. The copper as it is here. طب, what about aluminum and zinc? We said before, إن هم all of them, aluminum والzinc, are located above hydrogen. هيعملوا إيه? As you see here, they form a reaction. They kick the hydrogen out in the shape that we see the effervescence here. الدخان اللي طالع ده أو الvapor اللي طالع ده الهيدروجين gas. Okay? And it will change into another chemical. طب, let's see here. يبقى here أول واحد هيعمل reaction zinc. هنلاقي الزنك على طول at the beginning. The first one will be formed. The reaction is zinc, this one. And then after a second, the aluminum. طيب, a genius one of you will tell me, طب, why? While the aluminum is before zinc in the CS قبله. You said before that the active metal بيبقى أسرع من اللي بعده. طب, here it's an exception. Why? Because in the case of aluminium, it takes place a reaction because of the presence of a layer called aluminium oxide. موجودة طبيعي جدا هي على الألمنيوم because the aluminum is a metal وبتعرض للenvironment للجو, so it will form a layer of aluminium oxide. So it takes a second to remove this layer by the acid and then the reaction start. So عشان كده الزنك will start immediately and then after it the aluminum. But both are active gases. I kick the hydrogen out. So active metals. So here's the copper and the aluminum and the zinc, and we can see the reaction together. Let's see the observation. I said that the gas bubbles evolved. Which one? The first one, the zinc immediately, and then after short time, the aluminum, and the copper, no gas is evolved, as you see here in the 3 test tube like you in front of you. Then I reach the very important part, all of those what happened in the reaction. Here I have to know the equation. The first equation, that the zinc with hydrochloric acid, I said zinc will kick the hydrogen out and replace it. عمل لي ايه؟ zinc chloride and kick the hydrogen out as you see here. Okay? And I said aluminum plus hydrochloric acid give me aluminum chloride. Replace it and kick the hydrogen ويدخل مكان الهيدروجين ويعمل لي aluminum chloride and kick the hydrogen out. It's very important. Like the last one, which is copper, I said copper plus HCl, which is hydrochloric acid. Finally, no reaction will happen. So here we explain the 3 types of, or 2 types of the simple substitution reaction. The first one, either replacing hydrogen in water and replacing hydrogen in acids. Now, let's sum up what we took this episode. We explained the second type of chemical reaction, which is the substitution reaction, and we take in details what's meant by chemical activity series, which is very important to use it in the this type of chemical reaction, and from it we know that all the metals that located above hydrogen in the CS, or the chemical activity series, can replace it and kick it out. And between the two elements together, the element which is above the other is more active than it in the chemical reaction, but we have only one exception in the case of aluminum and zinc, because the aluminium has a layer of aluminum oxide that cover it and takes time to remove it, then it will make the reaction. And next time we are going to take the last one, or last example of the simple substitution reaction, and we'll complete the other. Thank you so much for your good listening, and see you next time, and goodbye.